Coming up this week on Sporting Journal Radio, you could see in North Dakota, if things get bad, you could see from a 74-day season and a 6-duck bag limit to a 39-day season.
The agitator and the swimmers are our bread and butter now. I mean, I'm with the spinners, obviously.
We do actually have a big announcement.
Broadcasting on the Sporting Journal Radio Network, wherever you get your podcasts, or watch on YouTube.
Fish on right now.
Well, we're here at the 2024 Pheasant Fest and Quail Classic, presented by OnX. Know where you stand with OnX. And our guest now is Jeremy Smith. I fish, I hunt, and always will.
It's just to look out for your everyday hunter, angler, and trapper that's out there.
A Fish Hunt Forever production. This is Sporting Journal Radio.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen, a big, major announcement to start the show right now. Ladies and gentlemen, David Eckhardt is back.
Here I am.
Where's the button? Where's the button? Gosh dang it, where is it?
The last 3 times I've been here, you play this sound bit.
Well, where'd I go? Oh, there I am. David, I have to apologize to you.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Someone sent somebody a message. You sent Bret a message saying that I was very mean to you for not being on the show and going to Sturgis instead. So I'm here to say I'm not sorry. I mean, if that guy thought I was that offensive, I'm scared for how he feels or she when they go out in public. Because I wasn't that mean to you.
Was it a good trip? Was it worth it? Was it worth missing this important podcast?
I don't know if it was worth missing the podcast.
That's the right answer.
It was a good time.
Welcome back. We do actually have a big announcement that we will tell you here in just 1 second. Major, huge announcement coming up. Plus, Dan almost peed his pants.
I did. Gosh. Are we teasing that or do I get into
No, let's just tease it for now. We'll tell that story in a little bit.
Because that's like, I mean, people exaggerate fishing stories. That's not an exaggeration. And it was almost on TV.
We'll get into headlines. We got a new truck wrap, which I think is pretty cool.
I can't see it.
Yeah, because it's camouflage.
There you go.
See what you did there? Also, Ben Brettingen from OnX is going to join us. They got some new stuff from OnX coming up that you want to be aware of. Also, Luke Cramlet from Lucky Duck is going to join us. And we're going to get into some of the changes at North Dakota. We announced them on the show a couple weeks ago. We'll kind of get their breakdowns on what's going on and how that's affecting the industry. We'll talk about Game Fair a little bit. Ben was up at Lake of the Woods fishing, did very, very well. And then Joe Henry will have a Lake of the Woods fishing report, all coming up in a little bit. There's also some lawsuits going on. The DNR suing a sheriff because he gave an elk tag to a landowner. It's kind of crazy. There's a judge in Montana that's trying to get wolves in Montana and Idaho relisted on the endangered species list. Like, it's never ending, ladies and gentlemen. Plus new regulations on Mille Lacs. All that and more, ladies and gentlemen. First, Dan, who are the sponsors this week on the show?
Lake of the Woods Tourism. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world. Plan a Lake of the Woods fishing trip at lakeofthewoodsmn.com. OnX Hunt. See private land boundaries, offline maps, and more. Take 20% off a new membership with the code SJR20. Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Fish Devil's Lake this summer at Haybale Heights. Learn more at haybeleheights.com. Tasman Lake Lodge. Catch world record lake trout and giant pike at Saskatchewan's Tasman Lake. Learn more at tasmanlake.com. Prairie Sportsman, the new season's over, but you can watch episodes anytime at the Prairie Sportsman YouTube channel. And Trails End Outfitters, trophy bear, walleyes, and whitetails in Saskatchewan. Learn more at trailsendoutfitters.com.
Steve Panaz is retiring from Lake Commandos. Yeah, this kind of breaking news.
That was breaking news. We just discussed that off the air, before the show starts. Mark Court's taking over.
Yeah, well, congratulations, Mark. I'm sure Steve's living in Montana now, so it's probably going to be tough.
He fished all 2 lakes out there and ran out of a show.
That's right. And, of course, our friend Lance Tangen films for that, and Chad Cool doing the editing. So good luck with with Mark as a host. Good luck, guys. A couple other things. Maybe let's just get into headlines. How about that?
Okay.
Headlines.
All right, headlines are brought to you by Trails End Outfitters, offering guided whitetail and black bear hunting and fishing on Tobin Lake in Saskatchewan. Find out more at trailsendoutfitters.com. We do have a whitetail video coming to the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel very, very soon. I got to get through I got a Saskatchewan waterfowl video that I'm editing currently right now, so we'll get that up here very soon. New regs on Mille Lacs, Dan.
Oh, yeah. The limit increased to 3.
Yeah.
I didn't think you were going to make me tell this story.
I wasn't, but I
okay.
didn't have the story pulled up yet, so I was just pausing, stalling for
Appreciate
time.
it. You just prompt me with something. And
The walleye limit on Mille Lacs will increase from 2 to 3 beginning August 23rd and continue through Sunday, November 30th. The size limit, which allows anglers to harvest fish 17 inches or longer, but only one longer than 20, remains in place. So there's your 17 to 20, only one over 20.
I think you can night fish now too. I think.
I heard a rumor about that.
Don't quote me on that. Like, don't go do it tonight and then get a ticket and blame me. But
I don't see it in this story on the Fish on Forever website, fishonforever.com.
Or go try it and report back. Don't do that.
Dan, I was going to break this. Well, it wasn't breaking news, but I was going to talk about this on the podcast, but you already talked about it on social media that the DNR fish pond is full.
Oh, yeah. I was watching that last night. They stocked it the other day. Alex Arnold was part of that. I went to college with him.
Oh, really?
So, yeah, he's like the most important guy in the state this week. And matter of fact, I'm actually going to go spend probably 6 hours staring at those fish eating a corn dog today. If you're listening to the show on Thursday, I'll be at the fair eating corn dogs, looking at fish.
That's awesome.
Yep, that's my life.
DNR is encouraging you not to shoot collared bears, by the way. Once again this year, just a reminder, if you got a bear tag, they ask you not to. I know, in our world, it's like, banned, or, GPS tracker, But the black bear world's a little bit different. We got a pile of black bears in this state. We need the DNR to be able to have true, accurate data so we can, to me, I think we need to increase tags, personally. So if you see a collared bear, they ask you not to shoot that one. So, also, North Dakota Game and Fish put out a podcast about the non-resident waterfowl changes. We talked about it 2 weeks ago on this show. David, if you had been there, you'd know about it.
Did you listen to it?
I heard about it.
Nope. You didn't even listen to our show about it.
I heard about it.
Who says who? I said I heard about it. Maybe it was from your show.
Wow.
Well, we got
jumping to conclusions.
We got accused for not even having it an hour and a half long podcast. So we did.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Anyways, not to give that guy more attention.
No. Well, what was interesting though is so we talked to Game and Fish on our show about it, and then Bill was on their own podcast this week that came out, North Dakota Game and Fish podcast, and there was a little bit more of a breakdown, a little bit more data and information behind the decision, and one of it was just how many non-resident hunters there are and the increase in non-resident hunters over the years. And one really interesting thing I thought that came out of it, we'll talk more about this with Ben and Luke later in the show and break this down a little bit. One really interesting though, they had a thought back in, I think, the early 2000s when they were putting some of these regulation changes in originally. They wanted to put a cap on the number of non-resident hunters in North Dakota and change it every year. So based on, I suppose, the breeding count, waterfowl numbers, habitat conditions, things like that. So could you imagine trying to plan a trip? Hey, next year let's go hunt North Dakota. And then they're like, this year there's only 8,000 non-resident hunters that we're going to give away tags for. So that would have been a nightmare. That obviously did not happen. But there are some changes. And don't forget, if you're a North Dakota resident, you have to get that stamp, the new stamp this year. It's, I'm trying to remember what they called it. It's talk amongst yourselves.
$5 waterfowl stamp. You should see it when you buy your license. Everyone needs one. Youth, adults.
It's not a waterfowl stamp though. It's it is, but they call it something else. It's like a habitat restoration stamp or something like that. So yeah, it's $5. You'll see it. It's something new. If you're a non-resident hunter, you have to buy it. You cannot buy your non-resident tag license without purchasing that $5 stamp. But if you already have your license this fall for North Dakota, you're a North Dakota resident, you have to go back and buy that $5 stamp. So make sure that you get that. Fish Hunt Forever truck, the Thunder 2.0, got a new wrap.
Looks great.
Have you seen it, David?
I got to see it in person. I got to ride in it.
Oh, that's right.
Last week.
How'd it look from the inside?
He had to move a couple things for me to sit in it, but he'd been gone for a week. So
What did the wrap look like from the inside?
He's making a joke, David. I know you've been gone for a while, but
invisible.
It makes it very dark in the back seat because the back seat windows are completely covered. So it gets very dark. At one point I was like, is my dog still back there? I can't see anything. I can't hear anything.
Can you roll those windows down?
So you can, but Jamie Dittman out of Brainerd Signs, did the wrap, did an awesome job. He did say be a little careful with the back window wrap. Tried to avoid rolling them up and down as much as possible. So I just put the window locks on. So if you're back there, I've got that full sunroof. So if you need a little light or want a little air, I can open up. That sunroof goes to the back seat. So
yeah, that gives plenty of light.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. And so if you spot the truck, take a picture of it and send it to us, and we'll enter you in a contest. Not sure what the contest is yet, though, or what the prizes will be, but we'll come up with something pretty cool. All right, should we make the announcement? You guys ready?
Ready.
All right, check this out right here.
The times are changing. If we look back at history, there are big changes that have stood out. God creating the earth, man inventing fire, Tesla and Marconi inventing the radio. Then came podcasting, YouTube. As your listening habits have changed, so have we. And now we're changing our name to reflect those changes. Sporting Journal Radio is becoming the Fish Hunt Forever podcast. I fish, I hunt, and always will. Download the Fish Hunt Forever podcast wherever you get your podcasts or subscribe to our YouTube channel. There it is. Brand new name. Same great show. Well, a few little tweaks. You know, we've tried to make this show a little bit more podcast formatty, podcast friendly, a little longer form. But obviously we have 28 radio stations out there that carry this show, so we still have to conform to some of the radio standards with it. We want this to be a clean show. We want it to be able to air not only on broadcast, but even for podcasts. We don't feel like we need to have language that's not safe for kids and safe for work and all that stuff. So it's still going to be clean, but we're going to be a little bit more podcast friendly, maybe include some different things in the show, but same great show that you've come to love. Once in a while, David will even be here.
Sometimes, we'll see.
Gosh. We should just make it a weekly bit now where we make fun of David.
I've been trying that for however long I've been on the show, and I just only landed the joke once. And I got called a meanie.
One time.
Yeah, and I'm a meanie.
Yeah. So, but starting next week, the Fish Hunt Forever podcast. So just everything now under the Fish Hunt Forever umbrella. It makes things a little less confusing, a little more to the point of what you can expect on this show. And it's all about fishing and hunting and what we can do to preserve the outdoor traditions that have allowed us to have this lifestyle for future generations. So we fight for your rights as a hunter and angler. We try to come up with ways to make you better in the outdoors and keep you up to date on topics that are important to us and should be important to you as well. And so we're going to change everything. So if you're searching for our podcast, look for Fish Hunt Forever. And then, Dan, the podcast on YouTube will be going to the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel.
Yeah, so we've been telling you to subscribe to that for however long that's existed. So if you haven't, now's a good time to go do that. This will be the last show that goes on the Sporting Journal Radio YouTube channel. So if you're watching it there, go to Fish Hunt Forever. Find the Fish Hunt Forever YouTube channel. That's where the podcast will be from now on. So go there. That's where everything's going to be. We've got actually a new bass fishing video there right now and a bunch of other stuff. So that's where all of our videos are going to be. It's just going to be way easier to find all of our stuff right there. Fish Hunt Forever. Bam.
I should mention this since I did talk about it at the beginning. I know we're running out of time here, but
still have another tease to pay off too.
Oh, that's right. We haven't even gotten into that story yet.
We're being more podcast friendly, so we're going to go a little long if we have to. Some of this might get cut out of the radio show. So if you're listening on the radio, go find the Fish Hunt Forever podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
There you go. Well, a federal judge in Montana ruled on August 5th, this going back a couple weeks ago, that the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service improperly denied a petition to protect gray wolves in the northern Rocky Mountains under the Endangered Species Act. So there's a judge in Montana trying to put Montana and Idaho wolves back on the ESL. Who is this guy? It's Donald Malloy. And in 2011, he was involved in another decision to return wolves in Montana and Idaho to the endangered species list over the objection of the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So this guy has gone to war with U.S. Fish a couple of times over wolves in Montana. In response, the Sportsman's Alliance Foundation, great group, and their partners, Safari Club International and the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, have filed a notice of appeal and will continue to fight for sound wildlife management. this latest ruling in support of the activist petition. So just like the same reason the Minnesota wolves got put on the endangered species list, it's just a bunch of activists from the Center for Biological Diversity, from PETA, and from the Humane Society of the United States. They go out there, they want to end all hunting, all fishing, and they start with the easy ones: wolves, mountain lions, grizzly bears. They've been successful with some grizzly bears and some wolf decisions, including here in Minnesota. So the same thing that happened here, they're going after them now in Montana as well. So this latest ruling would demand that until wolves are, listen to this is what they want, which they know is unrealistic. So they know that if they get a federal judge, this is what happened in Minnesota, if they can get a federal judge to agree that wolves have not returned to their historic range in the entirety of the lower 48 states, then they haven't recovered. That's what they're trying to say, and they got a judge, Beryl Howell. That's why the Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan wolves are back on the endangered species list, because federal judge Beryl Howell agreed. Oh, you're right. There aren't wolves in all the lower 48 states. Well, god darn it, they have not recovered, even though we're way above management goals in all of these states.
Is he from the South?
I don't know. Not quite sure.
Colonel
I'm not even
Sanders?
sure if it's a guy, to be honest with you.
Make her looking good, wolves.
They're trying to make a statement that they'll never be fully recovered, which would mean the protection would last forever. So these people are, it's ludicrous, this whole situation. So that is what's going on. So when we think we've got it bad here when it comes to wolves and deer management, Montana and Idaho is getting beat up right now for the same very reason. Now, Dan,
Right to jail.
we haven't mentioned anything about your Bassmaster Open experience yet, and we should.
Yeah, that was a fun week. That's a really, really well done tournament by Bassmaster. You know, people can complain about the wind cancellation on day one or whatever. I understand why they made that decision, but it was really fun to have it in Walker, because Walker is just a fun town to be in general in the summer, and then you add an event like this, and they've really embraced it. And we kind of talked about it last week about how they brought in live music. The fire department did a fish fry, this and that. So there's a bunch of stuff going on for everybody. So it was really fun to be a part of, and tournament fishing is fun. I've kind of lost my interest in participating in tournament fishing, but it's fun to be a part of from the media side, especially just getting to hang out on the boat and hang on the boat with a good friend of mine. So I was in the boat for a day practice and then both tournament days, and got to hang out and do some filming and do some fishing. And well, I didn't fish, but filmed some fishing, and so this is a 214 boat tournament. So day two. So we're staying in Bemidji. Takeoff starts at 6 each day. So we're only a half hour away, but you want to be there kind of early, go gas the boat up, this and that. So we're getting up at 3:30, and day two is no different. We're up at 3:30. And so I auto brew is my favorite thing in existence on a coffee pot. So I can just wake up and pour myself a cup of coffee. So I wake up at 3:30, I make some Eggo waffles, I pour a cup of coffee and drinking some coffee. All right, we got the car ride down there. So we get to the boat launch, I'm drinking more coffee, and I take a leak at the boat ramp, and we get to where we're checking in, because you can launch at any of the 3 ramps in Walker. There, Erickson's, the town ramp, and then Shingabee. You had to go to the Walker City dock to take off. That's where everything was kind of based out of that week. So we get there about 5:30. We pull up. There's probably 150 boats there, which, by the way, if you're in the dark and see 150 boats with their red and greens on just hanging out in one spot, it's kind of cool. So we pull up there, and I take a leak again because I had to pee. So whatever. We're boat 194 this day. So takeoff starts at 6. I know I've got more time, drinking more coffee because I like my coffee. And what else are you going to do? So we're hanging out, and more boats are there, and takeoff starts, boats are going, this and that, and this is day 2, and this was supposed to be a 3-day fishing tournament. And normally the way these are structured, day 1 and 2, all 214 boats fish or whatever. And then the third day, only the top 10 fish. And they bring in Fox Sports 1, and they put a camera guy in all 10 of these boats, and it's live on TV for 5 whatever, however long they decide to go. To take off, they're filming the whole thing. So I'm looking around, and there's a camera boat, there's drones flying around, and it's like 6:30. We're still waiting to go. Man, I really gotta pee. And the day before, I'll just pee off back of the boat, even if there's other boats around, whatever. I gotta go. Well, now I realize this might be on national TV. Like, they could just zip a drone over my head, and all these people are watching at home, and geez, what's that there hanging out? And Could be peeing on live TV.
Oh, they weren't going to see anything, Dan. Let's be honest.
You don't know. You have no idea where there's a camera and where there's not at this point. There's 10 camera boats plus whoever else is on shore plus drones flying around. Either way, I'm like, I can't. I simply can't do this. It'll be on TV. There might be rules about, not following the code of conduct, and I'll get Joe disqualified. I'm like, this isn't good because I gotta go. And the wind is blowing this day out of the east. I didn't really know how bad it was, but like, whatever. Trying to do the math in my head of how far we're going. We're running across the lake, probably 15, 20 miles this day. And trying to do the math in my head of how fast Joe's boat goes and how long this ride's going to take. I'm like, all right, if conditions are good, we can do like 60, 62. So wait 20 minutes. I got this. I'm listening to boat numbers. Get called. I'm like, come on, just get to 194. We got to go. This isn't good. And it's dragging on. It was probably 6:45 by the time we blast off, and I'm struggling already.
Your eyeballs are floating.
Yeah. And we take off. We get through Walker Narrows, and we get around Pine Point, and bam. It's blowing east wind across the lake. Heavy east wind. So it's just getting to push across the entire lake. We slow down. We're hitting waves. And it's just uncomfortable as it is. But now at a full bladder, like every wave, like, this is getting worse. And it's waves bad enough where Joe's dashboard and his skeet are completely ripped out of the fiberglass. So his two graphs ended up in his lap. And we've got a ways to go, and like this is not good. I can't be the guy who says, hey Joe, you gotta stop and I gotta pee. Because what if a guy sneaks onto his starting spot in the time I'm taking a leak? I can't be that guy. And so we're just trucking along, slow as can be. And at some point here, I'm kind of looking at where we're going, how far we have to go. And in my head, I'm like, well, I really hope my rain bibs are waterproof from the inside. Because I might just have to just let her rip.
Oh, no.
I might just have to. And if I do, Reed's is right up the hill from weigh-in. I'll just be a little uncomfortable all day. I'll run up to Reed's, buy a new pair of shorts before weigh-in. We'll be good to go. And it was getting to that point where
you had a whole new plan about where to buy new clothes.
Yeah. So when I say this is the closest I've been to peeing my pants since I was like an infant, I'm not exaggerating one bit whatsoever. I was about ready to just let her fly sitting right there in the boat.
Slowed to a crawl.
It was bad. It was so bad. And God, please let something happen so we can stop so I can pee. And we're still trucking along. And finally, Joe turns and looks at me and goes, I can't hold it any longer. I'm like, oh, thank the Lord. He had to pee too, so we just stopped. And we both raced to the back of the boat. But it gets worse because the way I hold my camera gear in that boat is I just have a camera box at my feet. I don't want to put it in a compartment because if we're bouncing around, I don't want it bouncing in the compartment. And I can kind of put my left leg over the box and try to pin it down to the floor. So I'm doing this the whole ride where, wham, wham, wham. So I'm just, every ounce of my leg muscles trying to pin that camera box down. So I stand up, waddle to the back of the boat, fighting with my zippers and try to put weight on my left leg, and it almost just kind of buckles in the wind. And I had completely lost circulation, like from my calf down because I was pinning down that box. And now I'm afraid I'm going to fall out of the boat. So I'm just like a foot away from the edge so I don't fall out, trying to hopefully not pee all over Joe's boat and relieving myself. And instant, 0 out of 10 comfort to 10 out of 10 comfort. It was unbelievable. And I didn't have to spend $50 at Reed's for a new pair of shorts and underwear.
Hey, you ain't cool unless you pee your pants.
All the cool kids do it.
And then it's if I just let her rip, do I eventually look at Joe like halfway through the day and go, by the way, I peed my pants 6 hours ago? Or...
Well, we have a friend that just took all his clothes off and jumped in the lake to go to the bathroom. Yeah. So he could have just done that, I suppose.
It wasn't exactly super warm.
Bailed out.
we won't have to tell the rest of that story.
There might be rules against that, too.
Could be.
I don't know.
Yeah, probably no nudity, first of all.
Well, because what if we were by a camera boat again?
Yeah, exactly.
There were a lot of factors against me here, but...
Is that in the video?
No, it's not, because... I was scared to take my camera gear. I was scared to do anything in like that hour of absolute torture.
Panic mode.
It was bad. So
Pretty windy there on day 2. Hey?
It was. Probably windier than the day we canceled. But
Oh, really?
Probably.
Oh, wow.
Definitely a worse direction. It was an east wind. The day they canceled was a south wind, where at least, you're coming from the east side of the lake. At least then you can kind of just run the troughs to get to wherever you want. If you go north or south, it's going to hurt. You could tuck along the south shore pretty easily, but if you went north, it wouldn't have been very fun. But an east wind, you got to go against them one way, and then you got to come with them the other way, and it hurt going both ways, and man, it really hurts when you got to pee. But yeah, a couple people actually ended up in the ER that day.
Jeez.
One person separated shoulder, another their hummingbird not helix. I don't know what unit it was, a hummingbird.
Solix or Onyx.
I don't know. It might have been the new one. I don't remember. But they hit a wave and it just exploded. Absolutely exploded. The glass shattered. It looked like the motherboard shattered and cut their finger right open. So they had to go get stitches. Ended their day.
Oof.
I know the wind ended a lot of people's days early. Just some of the elite guys that were there probably pulled off early and decided to just go down to lacrosse. They didn't need to beat their stuff up. A few other people just figured it wasn't worth it, and we battled her out. We had fun. It was a fun event, and yeah, really, really glad I didn't have to film all day with wet underwear and shorts. So if you're 25 and ripping across the lake, don't feel bad if you have to pee your pants.
David, you ever pee your pants?
Nope.
Not even once when you were like 6 months old?
Well, I'm sure as a toddler.
We didn't
Or I was potty trained.
We didn't set a timeline.
Probably every day.
Never even wore diapers.
Just got on my motorcycle, went to Sturgis.
Oh, yeah.
We don't have to say any names, but we know a guy that will he works.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. How can I say this? He works outdoors.
Yeah.
And he works hard. He's busy. And he's like, well, no, I don't have time for a bathroom break.
Just lets her rip.
Yeah.
Lets her
Just
go.
No shame, no care.
I was thinking of that person when we're clipping across the lake. I'm like, you know what? If he can do it,
oh man!
Hopefully these whitewater bibs hold the pee in as well as they keep the water out.
Fill your boot.
Well,
I was wearing sandals,
Well, there you go.
so there's just a trickle on my
Yeah.
my foot on the carpet. Because that's what people expected to hear on the Fish Hunt. That's the first story ever told on the Fish Hunt Forever podcast.
And this segment brought to you by Tasman Lake Lodge, by the way, offering lake trout in northern Pike and Saskatchewan. It's funny, I'm not surprised at that story, Dan, because even at Tasman this year, when we were up there filming a new season of Tasman TV, which new episode coming to the Tasman Lake Lodge YouTube channel, by the way, you get Dan in the boat, especially if right in the morning after a bunch of coffee, every half hour, he's waddling up to the bow of the boat to go to the bathroom.
I don't exactly have the strongest bladder. I know that. And coffee is about the worst thing to rip through here. But yeah, I've never been forced in a situation where I thought I was where I had to hold it to keep it from being on live television and then clipping across a very windy Leech Lake.
Speaking of water and liquid, we're going to get into water motion decoys with Luke Cramlet from Lucky Duck. They got some new products that were all the rage at Game Fair this year. We'll find out what those were. Plus, Ben Brettingen joins us. Next week, we are officially the Fish Hunt Forever podcast. Thanks for tuning in. We'll be right back.
Now is the time to start thinking about chasing big walleyes on Devil's Lake. Get on the fish at Haybale Heights Campground and Resort. Haybale Heights makes it easy for you to make memories on legendary Devil's Lake with guided fishing and lodging packages. Or bring your own boat and rent one of their cabins on East Bay. Haybale Heights offers a private marina, fish cleaning station, and the opportunity to relax and enjoy your bucket list trip to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. To book your trip, visit haybaleheights.com. That's haybaleheights.com.
All right, welcome back to the show. We're going to welcome Ben Brettingen from Onyx and Luke Cramlet from Lucky Duck. Right now onto the show, gentlemen. How you doing?
I'm just happy to be here with you guys.
It's that easy. Just happy to be here. We don't even need to talk about anything.
Show's over.
Yeah, that's it. It's good. It's perfect. Awesome. All right. Well, Ben, you got out of it, but Luke, we talked at Game Fair. You did the big old grind out at Armstrong Ranch out there. How was Game Fair for you?
It was good. I mean, it wasn't like years past. It's usually always hot and humid, or there's a rain day. And this year there was both. First weekend was hot and humid. Second Saturday it was a rain delay until about 10 o'clock. And it didn't really slow people down that afternoon, but overall I think foot traffic might have been down a little bit just because of the weather, but it was good for Lucky Duck.
Yeah, it was a good show, and honestly, the first time I walked around, I mean, it was kind of busy. I wasn't there. I was there one day each weekend, so I wasn't there the entire weekend. But I know the first thing I noticed, and maybe because I was sweating profusely, but I saw your pool there with some of your decoys splashing around in there. I almost jumped in with them, but I noticed
You get that a lot.
I bet. How many dogs try to jump in there?
All of them. And that's the thing, like me and the guys that work the show, we get it. The dogs are excited. They see the decoys and, the movement. They get excited. They jump on it. But if I'm a dog owner, I'm not just letting my dog jump on people's displays. Right. Like, it's fine, but do you let people jump on your truck or dogs jump on your truck? Like, no. So it's almost frustrating at the same time.
So I have two stories to tell you after that comment. One, first of all, is when I had a booth at Game Fair, I had a magazine. Well, Ben, that's where you and I met each other and started working together. We had that magazine, and then Matt Soberg made these magazine racks that we had on the corner of the booth. And David, maybe you can grab that one and hold it up for a visual display while I'm telling the story. But every male dog that came by the booth took a leak on the side of on these magazine racks. I finally had to stop David. Well, I don't know if we really need to hold them up, but yeah.
It still smells.
Yeah. We had those on each corner. I finally had to take all the magazines out of the bottom part of the rack because they were just getting destroyed down there.
Well, it didn't help. We had that dog food company right next to us a couple of years. So they'd be throwing dog treats out. So all the dogs, well, it was great actually because they'd come in, but then they'd be right next to the corner and they'd pee right on that one. Good times.
The leapfrog off of that. Ben, you've seen our indoor booth, that one me and my dad built.
Yeah.
All wood and cedar. So when we first finished that, it took us 7 months to build it. We were at Delta Waterfowl in Little Rock. I'm so proud of this booth. Show up. First thing, dude lets his dog piss right on the corner. right on the cedar corner.
Yuck. Might as well paint it red and call it a fire hydrant.
Yeah. And the dude was just like, oh, sorry, he must have had to go. I'm like, you're kidding me, right?
Yeah, I love Game Fair for that reason because you get to bring your dog out there and walk your dog around, but it presents a whole new list of challenges if you have a booth out there. We finally, and that's kind of brilliant from the dog food company's perspective, by the way, just to sprinkle some dog food in the grass out in front of your booth gets everybody to stop by. And you're always looking for those little things like setting up the pool and having your decoys splashing around in there that gets people's attention. I used to bring my dogs out and put them in front, and then we had a sign on the front of the booth, and then I'd hand out cards that say, "Come by and I'll take a picture of you and your dog." Because back then, that was before everybody had these really nice cameras, and your iPhone could take a really nice picture. So I try to take real nice pictures of people's eyes. You try to have a hook, right, to bring them by the booth, and they come by, get their picture taken, and then promptly take a leak on the side of the magazine rack. Those people, we had a kennel across from us, though, Dan. Do you remember that?
The kennel in Gold Meadows.
Gold Meadows.
The game farm.
And didn't they have some sort of spray that was supposed to be some sort of deterrent spray for that?
I don't know. I just remember walking across, putting my name in their daily giveaway for hunting vests and jerseys, whatever they're giving away. I just sneak over there, put my name in, and sneak back. That's all I remember.
You won something, didn't you?
Sure did.
Yeah, vest or something.
Yeah. Well, I think
someone's got to win.
Yeah,
that's right.
I think it was supposed to be like an Adrian Peterson or Jared Allen jersey, and I wanted the hunting vest instead.
That's right.
I should redo that one.
You definitely wanted the hunting vest.
Well, yeah, it was into hunting, and now I realized I have 1,000 orange vests. And
we do have a lot of orange vests.
No Jared Allen jerseys.
Well, Game Fair was a good time. It was good to get out there and talk to some friends. Game Fair's changed over the years, and I want to get your opinion, fellas, about it being 2 weekends. I know I haven't had a booth out there in a long time. I usually only go out for a day or so at a time, but I talked to some vendors out there, and it's like tough, especially if you travel. Luke, I'm not quite sure where you live, but I'm sure you have a little bit of travel, and to do 2 weekends out there, it's got to be pretty tough.
Yeah, so Lucky Duck's out of Wisconsin. I live in Minnesota, just in the metro area.
Oh, so it's not too bad for you then.
No, for us, it's in our backyard. I can't be the one to complain about it being 2 weekends, but these brands that are from, Michigan or Texas or wherever they're from, Tennessee, to come up, staff it, work the weekend, and then have, a lull between the two. What do? Do you keep your workers up here? Do you fly them home? That's extra hotels, extra food, extra rental cars. Like, I understand the frustration from these brands that are not locally like us. So it's hard for me to complain, but I wouldn't be opposed to having it one long weekend, even Wednesday through Sunday or Thursday through Sunday.
There's a show that we do for Tasman, the All Canada show. We go down to Chicago. They do it in Milwaukee and Green Bay too. And it's the best show when it comes to hours that I've ever been a part of. And I think I'm trying to remember what it is, but I think it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And Thursday's like 4 to 8 or something like that. I think Friday's 3 to 9. Saturday is 10 to 6, I think. And then Sunday's like 9 to 3, like just perfect hours. You're not sitting there for the last hour or two on a day, wondering why you're still there since everybody's cleared out. And for, especially for the guys from Saskatchewan that are traveling, 24 hours or so away, it's the perfect hours for it. And I wonder, has Game Fair, I don't know if you guys know this, but has Game Fair always been 2 weekends? Does anybody know that from going way back?
As long as I've been going there, it's been 2 weeks. Maybe not in the beginning, but I've always known it as 2 weekends.
As far as I know.
I know being an outdoor show, you run the risk of dealing with a couple of days of bad weather. So I can see the appeal of wanting to make sure that you have a couple of days of good weather and good attendance. But, which one is more important? Having one weekend? Somebody told me that, they have to justify their cost. And I know plenty of other shows that are just one weekend that cost the same amount to have a booth there. So I don't know. I didn't mean to go off on a tangent about Game Fair. I love that show. No. It's just 2 weekends is tough.
Don't get me started there.
Ben, did you get out there at all?
Nope, not this year. It just normally I'll try to get out there for a Friday or something and go see everyone, but was not able to make it this year, unfortunately. But yeah, like Luke said, I'm out of Minnesota, but our company's out of Montana, and that's where a lot of the resources come from. So it's logistically challenging. I'd love to be there, love to, see all our Minnesota customers and chat, but man, it's makes it difficult to come and do it because it is a great show. So I would love to see it end up being one weekend, but not my decision.
And I did take advantage of a few deals while I was out there, including, look at that. What?
Look at that.
Lucky duck. Look at that. Which we'll talk a little bit more about the products that you had out there. And I want to ask you about these wings too, because I thought these were kind of interesting. But before we get into that, my favorite thing with that show, and of course all shows, as you guys know, it's just fun to see. Sometimes the only time you see other people in the industry is at these shows. And if you get a little bit of free time nobody ever goes to the bars especially after Game Fair. I've never seen any other vendors.
David? No.
Right.
Yeah.
So the Boondocks?
Boondocks.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. May have been there a couple of times in the last 2 weeks. Yeah, for sure. The nice thing is the second weekend we were within walking distance. So first weekend we had to get a ride. But it's a good time, and it's fun to see old friends and things like that there. So I always enjoy that. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. Then I want to talk about some of those new products, Luke, that you had there, and we'll also talk about what's coming up with OnX that you're gonna want to know more about with Ben and Luke when we come back. Sick of eating tag soup? It's time to own your odds this fall with OnX Hunt, the GPS hunting app trusted by millions of hunters. Now you'll have access to nationwide public and private land ownership information, waypoints, optimal wind for each stand, tracks, and much more. All at your fingertips. Go to onxmaps.com/hunt and use code SJR20 at checkout to receive 20% off your membership. That's code SJR20. All right, Luke Cramlet, Ben Brettingen, our guests here on the show, along with David Eckhardt, Dan Amundsen. I'm Bret Amundsen. Luke got a chance to check out some new products that you had there at Game Fair. And I was getting into this story in the previous break. I don't think I ever finished it, but walking around, it was a little busy the first time I did my first lap. And you know how it is. You always plan to do a couple laps, and you don't always get a chance to make it around a second time. But my first lap, there are a couple of things that caught my eye, and one was I had to stop at the pool just because I wanted to jump in. It was real hot. But I noticed some new products swimming around in there. Tell us about what you guys had on display there.
Yeah, so it was a pretty exciting launch, I guess, to have our new water motion in the pool. We didn't have any for sale, unfortunately. We're still waiting on that shipment to get here, which Game Fair could have really been a home run. But it was still good to see the customer interaction with the new swimmers and agitators. In that pool that you saw, it was the new Max series line of swimmers and agitators. And just the new accessories that comes with the customers. I mean, they were tuning it up. They'll be really well for us this fall.
Yeah. So the first one, and maybe maybe this concept isn't new, but I thought it was interesting how you had one on a frame that kind of spun around with multiple decoys on it. So not only are you getting, some water agitation, but you're actually getting some movement with those decoys as well.
Yeah, so that's the new Swimmer Max. So the Max series in general, we've had these agitators and swimmers, but the Max series, we updated the carvings, we updated the modules, longer battery life. We took all the feedback from years past in our swimmer and agitator line and just molded that into the new module. But to your point, that Swimmer Max is going to come with something called a decoy follower. And so that attaches to the bottom module, the screen, and it will pull 2 static decoys around included. So just something, like you said, it's going to add, a 3 decoy movement instead of 1, centrally located in your spread, and you get 2 or 3 of those out there, and it will look really good.
So, and I might have one of a video from that pool, Dan. I can't remember what I filmed out of there, but I did. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there it is, right there.
So that little spray off the tail too that you'll see, that's going to come with that Max series as well. You'll see right there. And so that's called the Swimmer nozzle. And so kind of taking some features of the agitator, the duck butt one. So as it pulls those 2 static decoys around, it's going to shoot a little bit of water right up towards the tail, just subtly, and get 3 decoy movement.
Do I get a black duck with it?
Not yet. Right now, it's the Swimmer Max is just in Drake and hen mallard and a pintail.
How deep a water can you put that in?
So we have seen a little bit of drag if it's in like coontail or any sort of small pondweed like that, but that module is only about 5 inches below the decoy body. So as long as before that, if it's in a shallow marsh in North Dakota, it'd be perfect for that. As long as there's not too much vegetation. Yeah.
What can you put it on? You maybe put something down to set it on if you've got a little bit deeper water or a lot of like our sloughs around here are pretty mucky. How heavy is it? Would it sink in a little bit?
No, it's not. It won't sink in that much. The biggest thing is just making sure your lead is appropriate for the length you want it to move, and it's not going to tangle the other decoys. But then the big thing, and we get this question a lot at shows, is how heavy of a weight are you supposed to use? And we recommend at least 8 ounces, because if it's under, or if you don't stomp it into the mud, it will drag it across the pond.
Why are your decoys going the other direction?
Right. And at least the Max series, you can put that on a remote. So if it does start swimming away, you could turn it off. But yeah, no, if it's not pressed into the mud or at least 8 ounces, it's gone.
Well, it wouldn't be the first time we've chased decoys across a lake or a pond in the past. What about when you start combining, electrical devices or battery powered devices in water? Sometimes people get a little bit nervous. What's the battery situation like on those?
So that is a 6,000 milliamp hour battery. So we increased it from the 4,000 that's in the 2.0 series and the ones from last year. You're going to get, let me see right here, you're going to get 5 to 7 hours off of that Max series runtime. And being on a remote, you can obviously lengthen that if you're turning it off or not using it. But that's the biggest thing. Like the consumer, you're spending your hard-earned money on this, right? You want it to work. We want it to work. It helps our brand. It helps you hunting. But the thing is, too, you're putting electronics in water. I mean, we have not had any issues with this new module design with water getting in there. But if it did, what's going to happen is it's going to burn up, right? But this new gasket system, this new module, it's been really good in our testing.
So I'm seeing the swimmer and the agitator. Talk about the agitator line a little bit too.
Yeah, so that is also going to be in the 2.0 and the Max series. Same thing, the Max series, all new carvings, that new module with the bigger battery. The 2.0 series, just to touch on for agitator and swimmer, it utilizes the old carvings from last year and the year before, but it has a smaller battery and you can't put it on a remote. So right there, that photo, this was a big thing we got a question from the consumer is guys were saying later in the year, the birds have seen these from, September through January, and that splash from the agitator actually starts to flare birds or they get spooky off it. So when you flip that tube over, you're still going to get the rocking motion, but it's not going to get that big splash.
Interesting.
So that's a big feature of the new line of water motion for the agitators in general.
Water motion is a pretty big deal. Just going through the website here, it looks like you guys are dedicating a lot of your product line to something that's going to move water a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, you've been there, I've been there, Ben's been there. If you're spread, whether you're in a pond or the field, if it is just sitting still, how's that hunt usually end? Pretty quickly, right? Because you're done with it. They're not committing. So water motion in general is key. We're really trying to push that and promote that on our end of how vital that is to a successful hunt.
And so you got the agitator, the swimmer,
the accessories, really. We got some other decoys like the quiver magnets and the quiver ducks, but the agitator and the swimmers are our bread and butter now. I mean, with the spinners, obviously. But, yeah, with the new line of water motion and the accessories, because you can put the accessories on the old stuff if you don't want to splurge this year and buy a new 2.0 or a Max series. You can buy just the follower or the swimmer nozzle and add it to your last stuff. It comes with the appropriate screen.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but we have some other water motion products, but these are definitely the ones we push heavily.
So you could have sold your entire line at Game Fair. we discussed. When are you going to have these products available?
They're actually supposed to be here this week, early next week. The container is supposed to get here, so then they'll ship to retailers first, being a retail-focused brand. But we should have them on our website come mid-September for sure.
You're in Oshkosh this weekend. You don't think you'll have them ready out there yet?
I don't think so. This morning I took the time and reloaded that trailer with a bunch of spinners and other stuff, but the container hasn't got here yet. It's supposed to probably be here tomorrow or Friday is what the warehouse told me, so it'll just be too late. But we'll push people to the website and the local retailers.
How nice is it after a show that you don't have to load stuff back into a trailer?
And so that's the best part, but this show this weekend in Oshkosh has been a really good one for Lucky Duck in years past. It was only one day show, but we sell out very quickly there. So I'm actually concerned with this year being a two-day show. Sorry, if we'll have enough product for the weekend.
What about field stuff, blinds, blind accessories, field decoys, anything like that you want to talk about?
That spinner you held up, that is our winner right there. That's the top of the line one we have, new carving, most realistic, best technology. That's called our Lucky X HDI. So that's fully lithium ion, like 10, 12, 14-hour runtime. Operates on a remote, but those wings that you're holding up, we wanted to do something different, and so black and white's going to give you that most visibility.
And flocked.
So that shape. Yeah, and flock. So it dulls it down a little bit. It's not like someone's taking a photo view out there. While it's spinning, it's dull, but it's a good flash. But that shape one day, the funny part about that, I actually designed that. Our ownership came to me, was like, hey, let's do something different with this new spinner. Let's do a different shape. Let's see what you got. So I just took all of our wings and competitors' wings and just started Frankensteining them together. And I cut one of those out of a piece of cardboard and dropped it on his desk. He was like, it's actually kind of cool. Let's get a sample made, and there you go.
You know, it's funny. I opened it up, and I wasn't sure if these were brand new. I'd never seen them before, and I've got a bunch of Lucky Ducks. But I was curious about that. And you think, you almost, when you picture like those spinning wing decoys, when you picture them spinning, that's almost what it looks like, right? Like you almost see the points sticking up when they're spinning.
The wing tips.
Yeah. All right, that's really cool. So, and then you were telling me at Game Fair that they're supposed to stop with the white down when you turn them off, right?
Yes. So that technology, that's the biggest thing. If you've ever been hunting and you're targeting ducks and geese hate spinners. We know that. So that bird only, that model features our white down technology. So when you hit off on your remote, the white will always stop down.
Yeah.
That's always like my favorite game of roulette. Hit it, dang it, on, dang it, on, dang it, on, wear out the whole
We heard
remote.
it for how many years? Their guys are like, yeah, you're just bouncing it back and forth, trying to get the color side up or the wing print up. So now we just built that into the module itself, the technology within that decoy, so it stops white down.
All right, Luke Cramlet, Lucky Duck, Ben Brettingen, Onyx, our guest. We've got to take another break. More with these guys when we come back. If you want to catch a big walleye, go where the big walleyes are. Lake of the Woods is the walleye capital of the world, with a variety of resorts and lodging facilities offering full-service fishing. Lake of the Woods is also home to sturgeon, sauger, perch, trophy pike, muskie, smallmouth bass, burbot, and more. Plan your trip to Lake of the Woods today. Go to lakeofthewoodsmn.com. That's lakeofthewoodsmn.com. All right, we're back. Ben Brettingen, Luke Cramlet, our guests here right now. Ben, I know you've been traveling a lot, and we've been trying to get you on the show the last couple of weeks, and every time it's like, I'm going to Montana. I'm going to Lake of the Woods. First of all, must be rough. Second of all, but it's work related stuff. So I totally get it. We travel all the time too. And usually it is the fun places, but there's always work involved. Before I want to talk about Lake of the Woods, cause you fished both sides of the border. I want to ask you how that went. But you also spent some time in Montana. I'm sure that was pretty much work related, but it looks like you did a little fishing in Montana too.
Yeah, we did. It was, kind of a get together before the season with all of our team and just kind of going over priorities for next year. But yes, of course, no good trip to Montana would be complete without either hunting or fishing. So yeah, we got out on a local lake and went out on the pontoon, and I had to bring a fishing rod, and yeah, it was pretty fun catching 20-inch rainbows, and the brookies weren't going at it not until the fall, I guess, but there were some massive rookies we saw. So it was a pretty fun trip.
It's hard to think about Montana and think about fishing unless, it's a river runs through it, or fly fishing in a stream or something like that. But there are, maybe you call them mountain lakes, but there are some lakes, and I think a lot of it is stream trout that you're catching there, but there's some pretty cool opportunities to fish out there.
Oh, 100%. A lot of those high mountain and still water opportunities, they're quite plentiful. And it's, again, like coming from the east, it's not something you think about. But, you think more of a traditional look. Obviously, there's mountains there. But, yeah, wasn't fly fishing. Casting around, a little Meps or a little Countdown Rapala, and they liked it.
Yeah, when I think of fishing in Montana, I think of Fort Peck. That's generally about all that I think about, really, other than, like stream trout or something like that. And Ben, still one of my favorite pictures is that rainbow trout picture you had on the cover of Minnesota Sporting Journal magazine. So you've spent some time with the rainbows in the past. That was a pretty cool shot. And then you of course, you went up to Lake of the Woods and you got to fish both sides of the border while you were up there.
Yeah, we spent 4 or 5 days in Canada and then flipped down and fished out of the south side just because I heard it was, the bite on the south side has been absolutely incredible. If you look at some of the tournament weights, the AIM MTT events, and a good friend of mine, Pat McSherry, won the one back in July, I believe. And I think it was they had a 2 separate day tournament. I think the first day he won with like 55 plus pounds or something like that in the summer. I think his smallest fish of the 5 they weighed or 5 they measured, I think it's a like catch photo release tournament, was 29 3/4 was the smallest.
Wow.
So I had to get down there because it was an absolute, I think it still is an absolute zoo.
I mean, that lake is unreal. I mean, everybody thinks it's on Lake of the Woods is in trouble, or if you're ice fishing in February, Lake of the Woods is ruined. It's over. It's like, well, just hold on a second.
Wait a minute.
All those fish are in Canada, first of all.
And now the regulation changes in Canada, so that I think while you can't keep some of those, 17, 18-inch fish, now was it 15.9 inches, I think, or something like that. The slot is now. They changed it from, or what was it? I think it's 15.9. It was 18.1. You could keep one over. Now it's nothing over 16 or something like that. So, or 16 and a half. So I think that's going to only help that fishery.
54 pounds won the Warrior tournament last weekend, by the way. Tied it. Two people did the exact same bag. They tied for first. 54 pounds. You have to have like the best day of fishing of your life to win a tournament up there these days. It's insane.
Yeah, it's incredible. And when we were up there, we went off of Long Point, and it didn't matter where you went. We just got on a line and just kind of drifted, and we were using the magic box and looking for fish, and it didn't matter. I mean, we could anywhere in 30 plus feet of water. There were fish.
Yeah,
and the majority of the fish, honestly, were big. I think we had maybe one fish under 18 inches. The rest were 25 plus. So that makes for a really fun day.
Yeah, let me ask you that, because you have to wonder, especially these tournament bags. Those guys are using live scope or forward-facing sonar of some sort. Do you think the lake has gotten better, or do you think people are getting better at finding those big fish?
That's a great question. I do believe people are more efficient at it now. You look at some of the techniques that, while still being practiced, have the guys that are going out and seeking big fish. Wasn't always the case. You couldn't always do that, right? So it's like a lot of people pulling crawler harnesses and on bottom bouncers. It's like, yeah, people are still doing that, but the guys that are out searching for bigs, not the case anymore. I mean, you look at how the jig and crawler though has still reigned. So I think it certainly has changed the way we fish. I think those fish are probably feeling the pressure, but the nice thing is a lot of these people aren't, you're not keeping those big fish. You can keep one over 28, I think, 28 and a half on Lake of the Woods. And like those guys we're not keeping those caliber fish. So it certainly has changed the way we fish though.
How many of those big fish you caught were suspended?
Honestly, the majority of them were not.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
okay.
They were related, 3-4 feet off the bottom.
Interesting.
Didn't see a ton high in the water column, which was interesting. Was up in the angle in June, and kind of right as the mayfly hatch, kind of the mud, the sand starts to heat up. That was a fun bite. 10 feet of water, 5 feet down, just giant, floating around 5 feet off the bottom. They just look like whales on your forward facing. So that was a really fun bite.
I had a theory talking to a buddy the other day. He went up there a couple weeks ago and caught a bunch of big fish. They were all like halfway up the water column. So I started to think, all these trips, the fishing trip, family fishing trip or corporate fishing trip, who's the guy who tends to catch the biggest fish? The guy who's never gone fishing before. Right. You're dragging a crankbait or dragging a bottom bouncer. We're always getting at the bottom, and maybe this guy who's never fished before doesn't know what bottom feels like, can't get it down. He says, dragging his bait halfway down, wham, 32-inch walleye or whatever. How many of these big fish we've been just going right by with our baits below them because all these fish are up high, but clearly that's not always the case. Yeah.
And I don't know, another interesting thing that on the south side especially, it didn't seem to play out as much up in Canada, but the bite windows. Normally, Lake of the Woods, it's a banker's bite, right? You're out there and you're catching them, but we had some very specific, 2-hour bite windows where you couldn't shake them off. And then, we were contacting fish. I mean, you see them, they're walleyes, they're big walleyes, and they were just finicky. You had to pretty much force feed them. But of the 3 days we were there, there were probably 2-hour time frames, like 1 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, where they just wanted a chow. So that was pretty interesting.
Was it the same window each day?
Yeah, it was very similar, like within 15 minutes. And honestly, what I should have done is looked at the lunar tables and to see if it was anything to do with majors and minors. But not something I have seen that distinctly on Lake of the Woods. So it was just kind of interesting tidbit.
I've seen that in the winter, ice fishing up there, where all of a sudden, and I feel like, honestly, I feel like that when we were up at the Angle last winter, I feel like it was like an early afternoon, things would pick up. You'd maybe get a few fish right away at sunup, and then it would slow down, and then like late morning, and then there'd be a little lull, and then early afternoon, it would pick up again. So I don't know. I mean, I never paid attention to the tables either to see if that was part of it or not. But, well, and you know what else is probably helping people catch fish, Ben? Onyx fish. Huh? See what I did there?
Great transition. 10 out of 10.
See what I did there?
Layup.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we'll have more with Joe Henry and get more from Lake of the Woods coming up a little bit later. But before we let you guys go, I want to hit on a couple of things. Ben, there was a master class recently for Onyx. It was North Dakota master class, North Dakota land access, which I thought was brilliant because everybody, with the change in e-posting a couple of years ago, people are still trying to figure all that out and how Onyx works with that. And just Onyx has also made a big push to improve not just access, but improve your knowledge of access and where you can go and what you can do and things like that, which I think is great. And then we had the news about the regulation changes with North Dakota. What was your reaction when you heard about that?
Honestly, it wasn't upsetting. I mean, I look at what North Dakota was 30 years ago, 20 years ago, even 10 years ago to what it is today, and something's got to change. The quality of the experience, if you're looking for birds, like it is definitely deteriorated. So something has to change. You see it all across the West with big game as well. Like the times are changing. So I think in order to preserve that experience, something had to change. And I can't comment on whether this is going to work, if it's good or bad, but that's just my perspective.
Well, it was interesting, and we had North Dakota Game and Fish on last week. You can go back and listen to our show last week to hear them.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago about why some of those changes were made. But this week, they also came out with their own podcast that I listened to today, and they talked about some of the resident and non-resident license sales numbers, which we didn't dig into that as much. I don't think Bill had the numbers when we did it, but they had them on this week's show. And you talk about 20, 30 years ago, and it's pretty sad to think. I was living in Fargo in 2000, and it's pretty sad to think that was 25 years ago. I don't want to talk about it. But that was really, there were in the early 2000s. I mean, it was like North Dakota and Minnesota gone to war over waterfowl and non-resident waterfowl access. So this issue has been going on for a long time. And when they broke down some of those license sales, I think in the early 90s, early to mid 90s, non-resident license sales were at about 12,000. And when it got to, I think it was like 2001, it was over 30,000. So think about that impact when you have, almost 20,000 more non-resident hunters coming into your state, leasing up land or getting to the field before you, or talking to farmers. And they were talking about the issue of, calling a farmer or landowner or knocking on their door. And, especially earlier in the season when you're out there scouting, it's sometimes 8 o'clock, 7, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night. And if you have all these people from out of state that don't know that landowner, and they're all trying to get the biggest feed in the area, that landowner, all of a sudden their phone's ringing off the hook, and they don't want to have to deal with that too much. So that was an interesting one. And Luke, I don't know if you do much North Dakota hunting, but the biggest thing, it sounds like that it affects people, the biggest segment of the population that's upset about this are those that bought land in North Dakota, or maybe bought a small house in a small town somewhere. And now, because you have to hunt in different zones, if you own a house in the middle of one of the zones, all of a sudden you can only hunt for 7 days versus the 14. Did you spend much time in North Dakota? Will this affect you at all?
It won't affect me at all. I probably haven't hunted North Dakota in 12, 15 years. We used to every year, me and my dad, my uncle, as a family, right? Our family trip, each October. It just started getting hard to get permission. Like you said, the farmers' phones start ringing off the hook. They don't pick up for you. They see you're non-resident. They're bias XYZ, right? So we go to Saskatchewan now. But yeah, that's the biggest thing. Like, we've kicked around the idea at the office, maybe getting something for work or a lease out there, a little house that we can go out there and get content with. Well, now if I can only go out there as a non-resident for the 7 days, and we have a house in, let's just say, Bismarck, well, that kind of screws us for making a big investment if you're going to buy a house or a lease or whatever it may be. So I can see both sides where people can get frustrated.
For sure. And, and one topic in all of this that's been brought up a lot is, of course, what that might do to the small town economies and the small town cafes and motels and things like that. And we've all eaten our share of gas station pizzas and spent a lot of money in these small towns, so that could have an effect. I'll be curious to know what effect it is. It's only a 1-year deal so far, so I'm sure they'll reevaluate it. And I'd be shocked if they didn't keep it after this. But they talked about how they've, the resident hunters have wanted to put a cap on non-resident hunters, cap it at 15,000, 12,000, and, or go to the lottery. So this was kind of their compromise. And one last thing I want to talk about is there's been a lot of rumors in the Mississippi Flyway about going to a 30-day duck season or some sort of shortened duck season here and a smaller bag limit. 4-day, I think, is kind of the rumor that I've been hearing. These guys in North Dakota brought up that they might even go, they have frameworks that they can work within. And right now it's a 74-day duck season, 6 duck bag limit. They have a moderate bag limit, moderate season structure, and they have a restricted season structure. And they talked about in the next couple of years, they might go to a restricted season structure. So guys, listen, I haven't even told you guys about this yet. You could see in North Dakota, if things get bad, you could see from a 74-day season and a 6 duck bag limit to a 39-day season in a 3 duck bag limit.
Jeez. Could
you imagine the revolt that might take place if they go to 39 days in that?
That'd be for everybody, not just non-residents.
That would be their season.
That would really defeat the purpose of the new regulations and whatnot. Because now instead of spacing everybody out, all the non-residents out for their 14 days across 74, you're going to jam everybody's 14 days into 39. Well, it's just going to cram everything up even worse unless people just don't go.
Right. And they've said that this might solve the problem of too much non-resident pressure in itself.
Or it'll make it worse. If people keep going, because they're,
Yeah, that would.
For me, the crux is like I can't say one way or another. As a hunter, yeah, like that would kind of suck for sure. But like I'm all for like biologically driven habitat game management, right? So it's like if they can say, hey, this is rooted in science and this will help, sure.
Yeah.
Well, they're saying that we've lost a couple million ducks in the Central Flyway over the last few years as it is. And, and I trust the biologists that are out there doing this work. But when you start talking about wet, dry conditions and how, birds shift around and things like that, I mean, that Minnesota said we're 60% down on blue-winged teal this year, yet we're 119% up on other ducks. So, I mean, did we lose? We didn't lose 60% of teal. They're just nesting in North Dakota or Manitoba or wherever. So,
and then would the rest of the Central Flyway states follow suit, or would just North Dakota do a 39-day season?
That's a good question.
Because what's the point if the rest of the states in Canada is not going to do it? You know, it's such a hard thing to manage migrating waterfowl.
That's on that general.
Right.
Yeah.
So my
Canada.
Yeah.
My first question was, when do you open the season? If Minnesota or Mississippi Flyway goes to 30 days, when does Minnesota open? And if North Dakota goes to 39, when, do we still open the last week of September? Could you imagine going from the last week of September to the last week of October if you run 30 days straight? I mean, I'm sure they try to put a split in there, but if we don't get any November hunting at all for ducks,
that'd be bad.
Holy smokes.
I do not envy their position at all. It is such a multifaceted issue with so many potential impacts. It feels like almost a lose-lose situation from where they're sitting.
Well, and when it's a federal thing, you're kind of, some of the states have their hands tied too, so it becomes tough. And I've said it 100 times, like I don't envy the DNR here trying to manage a state like Minnesota for waterfowl, for deer or anything, because it's so long. Like, it's, how do you manage Minnesota as a whole when it's like the 3 zones? I thought was good because it's so tall, you know, as birds move down, you can't manage it as a whole. And so many people in the state love hunting teal in September. It drives me crazy. I mean, I like eating teal, but I would much rather shoot mallards later in the year. So
I think you mean the early wood duck season.
Yeah. September
Exactly.
rainbow teal.
Rainbow teal.
That's hilarious. All right. Well, guys, I know we hit on a bunch of stuff. Ben, you've got some more masterclass stuff coming up for OnX we should mention.
Yeah, we've got a number of good master classes. If you want to learn just more about how to use the app, we've got a Mastering the App. It's OnX 101 that we run monthly. If you just Google OnX Hunt Masterclasses, that'll pop up. We've also got some more specific deep dives. We've got a rough grouse class coming up September 3rd, I believe, that we're going to deep dive into grouse habitat, learning better how to effectively find and target them, as well as we'll be running a pheasant masterclass in the beginning of October. So there'll be another, you just might want to keep checking that schedule, as well as get on the email list to get notifications, because there are some great classes with some experts in their field that hopefully you'll be able to glean some knowledge from and be more effective this fall.
Well, and if for anybody else out there like me that puts things off, Hunt Reminder is I finally am utilizing it, because I always miss deadlines and applications and stuff. So Hunt Reminder, I think, is great. A bunch of other hunt research tools in there for elite members. So get your OnX membership. You can save some money if you don't have one. Is there anybody on the planet that doesn't have an OnX membership?
Tony Crotty.
That's right. I think he's got one now.
Okay, good.
I hope. But get one, and if you don't have one, you can save 20% using the code SJR20 right now. Make sure you get yourself some OnX membership stuff there, and be better at hunting and fishing. OnX Fish too. And Luke Cramlet, Lucky Duck. Anything else you wanna mention? People should be watching out for. Come see you in Oshkosh, I suppose.
Yeah, come see us in Oshkosh. Keep an eye on the website. Sign up for that in-stock notify for if you're looking for some water motion on our website, and retailers. They'll be in there soon.
Very good, fellas. Good luck. I wanted to talk about fall trips, but we talked enough. We'll just have you back on to talk about that stuff. But good luck with whatever you got coming up, and thanks for being on the show.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
It's time to load up your dog and hit the fields and marshes this fall. But don't leave home without the OnX Hunt app. Decades worth of data and experience is now available in the palm of your hand. Private and public land ownership information, Minnesota-specific timber cuts, crop type layers, and much more are ready to help you get into more birds. Download the app today for a risk-free 7-day trial on the Apple App Store or Google Play Store.
Championship pre-fishing, and Thursday and Friday of this week, they're going to have their 2-day championship tournament on Lake of the Woods. And I'll tell you what, based on the tournament those guys performed in July, man, they had weight spread of 5 walleyes for over, I think it was over 56 pounds. It's over 11-pound average. Now, albeit there is a little bit of liberal weights going on. You know, a 30-inch walleye normally would be about 10 pounds, and I think a 30-inch walleye in that the equation they use is about 11 pounds. So it's a little bit generous that way, but nonetheless, these are huge walleyes. They're coming in with 5 fish, basically all 30 inches, and the majority of anglers doing that are able to do it through forward-facing sonar, because they can hand pick the real big fish out in that open basin typically, and let the little 25 and 26-inch fish, the 5 to 6 pounders, go by the wayside. So kind of interesting how that works, but boy, it's really showcasing the big fish fishery that Lake of the Woods is.
It's insane. We were just talking to Ben Brettingen about that, and he brought up Pat McSherry, who I think that's exactly who you were talking about. It was Pat McSherry and Stephen Roller. They had 56.42 pounds, 11.28 pound average per fish back in July.
So many big fish.
It's crazy. That's
crazy. Well, and I'll tell you, you take a look at the the whole walleye belt right now, and it'd be hard pressed to find a body of water that's putting out bigger walleyes than Lake of the Woods. There's a lot of great walleye waters, no disrespect, and things ebb and flow too, out of fairness. But people ask all the time, why is Lake of the Woods such a big walleye factory? And there's a few things. I mean, number one, we have the big fish gene. You got to have the genealogy in your lake to grow big walleyes. If you don't have that, you just won't. I know there's lakes that I fish in the tournaments that if you catch a really, really big walleye in that lake, it's 27 inches. That's just the way it is. Nothing wrong with the lake. It just, they don't have the monster walleyes like we do. The other thing I think is the DNR will tell you this. In Minnesota, if you got real trophy walleyes in your lake, and if you got big pike, there's a good chance you have a healthy population of tulibies. And Lake of the Woods certainly does. In fact, the DNR will tell you that, when a walleye in Lake of the Woods becomes about 25 inches long, which is about 5 pounds, their diet actually shifts. So they start focusing and really targeting in on those tulibies out in that basin. And then the third thing is that we have a slot limit. So any walleye caught between 19 and a half and 28 inches must be returned to the water. Well, I'll tell you what, when you're returning 25 and 26 and 27 inches walleyes, naturally you have the opportunity for those fish to, make it to 28, 29, 30, 31, 32 inches. And they do. So all that just, adds to the big fish factory that Lake of the Woods is. And boy, now with forward-facing sonar, I mean, we always got big walleyes, but now, holy man, they're able to get them in multiples.
Well, and I kind of posed this question earlier in the show to some of the other guys, and I don't know how far down this road you want to go, Joe, but do you think, like, all these, obviously these tournament guys are using forward-facing sonar, so are they, is there more big fish out there, or more big fish getting caught? What's and everybody, I think there's been articles a couple of years ago, like Lake of the Woods is in trouble and things like that. Then you hear about bags like this, and it's like, well, wait a minute, what's going on out there?
The article about Lake of the Woods being in trouble was, if you remember correctly, that was right after we had some flooding conditions, and so here's my hypothesis in that. We've had two real high water events here in the last, let's say, 10 years. And one of them was in, I think, 2018, if I remember correctly, we had an 80-year rainfall, and the Rainy River was ripping like torrent, rapids, trees were going downstream, whole tree systems, logs. I mean, all summer long, boats out in the basin were hitting logs. Well, when that happened, that basin bite really died off. It wasn't as good as it normally is. Yet we got guides from the Northwest Angle catching more walleyes and bigger walleyes up in the islands of the Northwest Angle and into Ontario. Well, then we just had a record-breaking flood here just a few years back. And when we had all that massive amount of water in the lake, and the dam was wide open in Kenora in the northeast corner of the lake where the water goes out of Lake of the Woods, and all that massive amount of water was pushing through the system, once again, the basin bite died off for about a year and a half. Well, that's the same time that somebody said, they didn't catch their walleyes on their normal trip, so is Lake of the Woods in trouble? Well, you know what? This last winter, the reports were it's some of the best ice fishing we have ever seen. People that have fished like 20 and 30 years. In addition, this summer it's just been lights out. And, I think what it is when you get a high water year and all that water gets pushed through, I think a lot of forage gets pushed north, and those walleyes just follow the forage. And of course, after about a year and a half, it ebbs and flows. It makes its way back again. And right now, our basin is absolutely loaded. Yeah. So I would say in communicating with the DNR biologists and everything else, the lake was never in trouble. That's Facebook talk. It's more that those fish move around. In some cases, they have so much forage to eat. Maybe they're not feeding as well. Things like that. But I mean, I tell you, the proof is in the pudding. Don't take my word for it. Look on Facebook for anybody that's visited Lake of the Woods in the last year, and fishing's really good.
Well, Ben said they went out a long point, but he goes, it didn't matter. He's like, anywhere we went out in the basin, we caught big fish. We caught fish and caught big fish. So the bite is on.
I would just out, filming a show here about a week and a half ago, and what blew me away is, there's a ton of fish down there where we're fishing. I mean, your sonar, you see a hook on a sonar, of course, is a fish, but it was hook. But I couldn't believe how many fish that we would pull a spinner and a crawler through that didn't eat. I mean, it's just amazing. And it was funny because you go through a pot of fish and they wouldn't eat, and then there'd be nothing for a second, a couple seconds, or maybe a couple minutes, I should say. And then all of a sudden, boom, you come into another pot of fish, and this pot of fish was active, and we both get bit. So it was just interesting. I don't know if the fish that weren't eating were on a school of minnows and they didn't have to eat because they had plenty to eat. And I don't know what the scoop was there, but it was just, again, very interesting to see. And of course, when we were up there, we got our fish.
It's funny you say that too, because you were probably up there around the same time as Ben, and he was saying that there were definitive bite windows. That he would see, like the early, like 1 to 3, he seemed to notice it was particularly better than some of the other days or some of the other times of the day. So, is that forage related? Is that lunar table pressure related? What do you think is going on out there?
Boy, it's hard to tell. And there definitely are bite windows, though. I mean, that's why when you're tournament fishing, if you leave a nice school of walleyes, what you think are walleyes, and you go fish somewhere else, don't be afraid to come back and check them later in the day, because there definitely are bite windows. And I can tell you that, when we were fishing out there, we lit it up on the first 3 passes probably. Now we were doing some filming, so we weren't like 100% fishing the whole time. We were doing some different things with cameras. But, as we got it later in the morning for us, it didn't seem quite as good. And I talked to a charter captain recently. He said, if they're going through those walleyes pulling spinners and those walleyes aren't reacting, that's when they put the crankbaits on. They can go a little bit faster through those fish and get them to snap at it, get that reaction bite, and that'll trigger more fish if those fish are a little bit temperamental.
Well, you mentioned the MTT. Also, the Warrior tournament was just up there, Joe.
Oh man! Well, the Warrior Boat Company, they have that annual David A. Anderson Memorial Walleye Tournament to honor David Anderson, who was a longtime pro and Warrior ambassador, really. And I believe they had 178 Warrior boats fished in this tournament. And what a tribute to a Minnesota company. They're based out of Melrose, Minnesota. Whenever you see a Warrior boat, 9 times out of 10, the angler that's driving that boat is a pretty darn good stick. And those Warriors are made for big water. I mean, they handle those waves very, very nicely. And Kent Anderson's the national sales manager. It's David Anderson's son, actually. And he puts this whole thing together. Wigwam Resort up at Lake of the Woods on the mouth of the Rainy River there at 4 Mile Bay. Wigwam Resort has been hosting this tournament for years. They put up a big tent, and it's just really, really kind of a family affair. If you're a Warrior boat owner, there's something special about that, and you enjoy seeing other Warrior boat owners and getting to see everybody each year. And each year it grows. I think last year I want to say there's like 100, maybe 155. Don't quote me. I think 155 last year maybe, and then this year's 178. So each year, it gets going. It was interesting this year. They actually had a division for boats that didn't have any forward-facing sonar in their boat.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting, and it was decent money too for first, second, third, and maybe fourth and fifth. I can't remember, but
yeah, it was decent. And of course, they gave away a whole bunch of prizes. I talked to a guy at Lake of the Woods. And he goes, my wife and I actually were, we do that tournament every year. We have a Warrior, and he goes, last year we were doing really good. Like we would have been in I don't know if it was 20th place or something, where they would have won a real nice prize. But I measured my fish wrong. Instead of going belly to belly and the fish head to the left, I flipped it over and went the wrong direction. So we had to have that fish DQ'd, and then that knocked us down out of the money. But then they have some random drawings, and my name got picked on the one on forward-facing sonar unit. So I actually did way better by not winning the tournament than I.
That's hilarious.
Isn't that funny?
That's cool. That's a fun tournament. It was fun to go up there and film that for Prairie Sportsman. And I'd be curious to see how many
together. I should say this too, though. If for listeners, that was a really, really good show that you guys put together.
Thanks.
On the Warrior Boat deal for Prairie Sportsman TV, and that's on YouTube. But people could Google that, couldn't they?
Yeah, absolutely they can. And I'll be curious to find out how many people didn't have forward-facing sonar on their boat for that tournament this year. So I'll have to ask Kent about that. And Joe, we can talk about this more next week, but I know you got the Pay It Forward event this weekend up there at Lake of the Woods. So good luck with that. And if people want to plan a trip to Lake of the Woods, what should they do?
Hey, simply check out our website, and that is lakeofthewoodsmn.com.
Sporting Journal Radio is a division of Macaba LLC. If you've got a question, comment, or story idea for us, send us an email. Go to sportingjournalradio.com. While you're there, you can learn how to advertise on the show and visit our store for hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, and more. Go to sportingjournalradio.com.